Okay, so on this, I was thinking about this, and I thought this could be, helpful for somebody to be able to recognize something that maybe they're doing or help them to, expand their perspective on something. And so, if I talk about like this trophy kind of relationship where you end up being just, like somebody won you or something. It kind of is, it is like a dynamic in a relationship. And it can't happen to everybody, but it can happen to a lot of people. It happened to me over and over and over and over. And for all different reasons. And so, this first person, and all these people were different from each other, but there was always something that is the same, right? Otherwise, I'm the common denominator. That's very true when people say that. When you have all these different broken relationships, you can go in and you can look at yourself. You're the common denominator. So you can go in and see, like, what was the problems I had here? What was the problems I had here? What was the problems I had here? And you start developing a way to understand yourself. And so for me, when the first relationship, it was much more of like, trying to escape my life. And this person was a bit older than me and liked to write poems. They seemed more, they seemed more worldly because they were from a different state. They were coming from California to come visit some friends. And I was super young. And, apparently I was very pretty and I didn't have much of my own self there. You know what I mean? Like there was no, I won't say there was no substance or I was shallow. I've never been shallow, but underdeveloped is what I'd say. More of a, like you take the clay and you put it and it looks good, but it doesn't have any real definition yet. And so I was more like that. And, in that relationship, that person, struggled, had their own struggles. They had a lot of issues that I had never seen before or had any understanding of in their family dynamics. And so, it was like being in a different world. And he wanted me to move to California, and I wanted to escape from home. So I went, not just my parents' house. I moved out a long time ago. It was just escape from my whole life, like, my friends, the life I had built. I wasn't happy with it. I was super obsessed with this musician, my whole life wrapped around him, and everything did, and it just drove me insane. And so I, he was different than this, he was different than that guy. So it was like, oh, well, this is probably better because that's bad, this is better. And so, and I get to go and, explore the world now, go travel, go to California. And then got there, and it was like getting into this whole horrible thing that I didn't understand. And it was like, I was definitely trapped in the web at that point. There became restrictions on me, like, financially, I couldn't just run home. I was in a whole nother state. So, and I went back and forth a few times, and, he seemed to want to break free from his family system and to become independent, but he never was able to. He suffered from some kind of mental illness, and, he still does struggle from mental illness. And so he had a lot of problems, but he was very, very, it always boggled my mind, like, what was it that he wanted from me? Like, it was just my, the outside of me. That was the only thing. It had nothing to do with anything about me. And so, going through that relationship and always feeling like, I've got to change. There's something wrong with me, there became a point in that one where it was like, I gotta get away from this person. This person's gonna kill me. Which, then I had heard from the marriage counselor. He'd done some long test, and it was called it was something to check for your mental illness or something. Some test to see if you're like psychotic or antisocial or something. And she called me and said that I needed to move further away. I had restrictions. He had so many restrictions on me. I had restrictions on how the distance I could have the kids from him. And she said that I needed to move to the furthest away point that I could, because he definitely needed that driving time to hopefully cool down before getting there, because I was at risk for him murdering me. So I don't know what all was in that test. So I did do that. I did move further. And I did try and use other boyfriends or something as a safety net, tried to have other relationships. But I wasn't getting married or anything. This person was married to and had 2 kids with. And I was way too young and unable to deal with all that stuff. And you would think, that it would have taught me a lot, but it just taught me that person had problems. It didn't really teach me very much yet. So then I had to go to the next relationship. I had some other ones in between, like boyfriends, like I said. But then by the time that I got married to the next person, they also, it wasn't like, there was nothing about me that they liked. Nothing at all. Every single thing, and they were older too. In every single thing, they constantly would come right out and say, I needed to change this, I needed to change that, I needed to be this way, I needed to be that way. And this person had a problem with telling the truth. They had a problem with substance abuse. The other person had a problem with substance abuse and had a problem with deviant sexual behavior and sexual assault on people and stuff. So he had some serious issues, which, was it a familiar thing because of my dad with the first one? So, but the second one, I thought, oh, well, he's different. So this one's different than that one. So this one's better, because it will be a better situation because they're different, right? It's different. So went into that relationship, and it was very domineering. It was very suffocating. I was super, super beat down. I said when I ran across those licenses the other day, and it was several licenses, so this was several years. And when I just saw myself, I just was like, oh my gosh. I was so beat down. It just, oh my gosh. And, and I was super unhappy. That's when I went on antidepressants. I was super suicidal. I had told myself I'm never going to get married again after the first one, being in fear for my life. And then the second one, it wasn't that much different. It was very, very toxic. It was it was a scary place. And like I went to the shelter before. I tried to run off and take the kids and go back to California, because once he moved me out of state. When I was in California and I had my friends and stuff, everything was fine. But then when I moved to Washington State and I was cut off from everybody, that's when things got dark. And no matter what I would do, I couldn't fix it. There was nothing I could do to make this person happy, but they didn't want to let go of me. They were obsessed with me. It's what I felt like. They're so obsessed, but they hate me. But what do they want around me? Like, it didn't make any sense to me. And, when somebody is doing certain things to you and they're telling you that they love you, if it doesn't feel like love, it's not love. It's just words, which also makes me want to say, just to put this out there again, I cuss all the time. If somebody doesn't like cussing, then don't watch any of my stuff, because I cuss all the time. And I think it's weird that people find words offensive and, get all bent out of shape over words. But, if you need to go find somebody who doesn't cuss to you can hear what they're saying, then that's what you should probably do. But so to me, words, if there's nothing behind them, then there's no meaning to them. So if they're going to sit there and say, I love you, but they're not telling you the truth, they have no patience for you, there's not really true companionship. It's a dominant, submissive type of situation. And there's none of you being like, oh, I want to go do this. That would be fun. Well, that's stupid. That's stupid, And I think, when I think about this now as to why my kids are so cut off from any information I give, I think if you are told over and over and over and over and over again that this person's crazy, then you begin to believe it. So, but life teaches you what you need to find out. So I can't worry about that. But so I went through a lot of years with this person always wanting me back. No matter how many times I would get the power to leave, they would want me back. And I got caught up in that cycle. It's just a cycle. And if you're caught up in it, it's on you to break it. You'll see. Nothing will change. Nothing will change. This is the dynamic you guys have in your relationship. This is, and if you go back in and ask any of these people, I was horrible for them. I was, too much work and, too needy or too demanding or too controlling or whatever, like they have a certain way that they're seeing me. Like you're just not in alignment, but you have these relationships so you can learn about yourself. And then after that one was really, really hard. It was a very long time to be with somebody and to be, it was a tough time to come out of that. And I definitely went into that, 40-year-old divorcee, super fit, bleach blonde, nails and all that stuff kind of thing. So the next one, and I was a nurse, I had my shit together. I was doing well. And so the next one, it was like, oh, she's the package right there. So I'm going to force myself on her. Because a lot of those older kind of divorced guys, yeah, they don't want a girl who doesn't have her shit together. They want somebody who can carry their weight. The problem is that a lot of the people who are more pushy like that also want you to carry their weight. So, and if you can't recognize that someone's piling their burdens on you, then you just keep on trying to be like, oh, hey, I can save the world. But that kind of has got a little bit of that that God complex, like, yeah, you'll save them. It's like, why? I don't want to be with somebody I need to save. And now, back then, I definitely was like, oh, well, poor them. Screaming. Weird. It keeps being this really loud alarm that keeps going off. It's weird. Anyways, so then, so when I got together with that one, and he was, coked out person who had lost everything and was trying to clean up his life, but he was a salesperson. So he could sell himself. It was so much. The girls were like, you got to watch this show, something Dick or something. It has Connie Britton in it. I think there's been 3 seasons. It was the first one. It was like, oh my God, this is just exactly him. And it was too. It was trippy. And that was another woman who was professional and stuff. You are a target for some people. When you got your shit together, there's certain people that want to just use you, and they'll charm the shit out of you. They'll be so charming. And that relationship was super, super toxic. This is how ridiculous I was, my own personal self. Is the first night that I met him, he comes over, he pulls out cocaine. I do cocaine with him. I sit on my couch naked, talking to him all night, just sitting there. I have no idea why. Like, okay, yeah, I'm not a prude. I can sit here naked, but I'm not having sex with you. It's like, what the hell? I don't even know what kind of friggin' state I was in at that time. Too desperate, that's for sure. So, and I had to stayed up all night. Then I had to do lines to go to work the next day, and in the hospital, in the ER for 12-hour shifts. So, but for me, see, I can do something really wacky and stupid like that and be like, oh, well, that was an experience, but I'm not doing that again. But there's other people who are just like, I'm going to do that every day. And I seem to find people who really enjoy, fucking up every day. So, you know, he just kind of went off the deep end of somewhat, and he just got super aggressive towards my kids, and he thought that he just like ran my house, especially like I just jumped right into a marriage with him, and it was all over insurance stuff. It's like, so he could have insurance to get a procedure done. It's like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. So anyways, then he turned, into like, hey, this is my house. I'll take all of this stuff. You can't leave me. You can't kick me out and all this stuff. It turned into a fucking nightmare that lasted about 1.5 or 2 years. And but look at how it started. I mean, I have to take responsibility for myself. I can't sit here and just say, oh, he was a creep. He was this. He was that. Like, I gotta take responsibility for myself. And so after that one, the day he left, the day he moved out of the house, which I still saw him a few more times after that, but the day he moved out of the house was the day I got released from the hospital with my brain injury. So I was in really, really bad shape for months. And, that a lot of that time is a big blur. And he left and went to California. And that was a Valentine's Day. And by September, I was in another relationship. It's like, oh my God. And I was a wreck. I don't even know what the hell. And so for this person, for the other one, his was about, he got a woman who could take care of herself. She could afford to take care of him. She could take care of kids. She could take care. I could do all of this stuff by myself. And, so that was the trophy. Oh, I got me one that she looks good and she can take care of herself. So he was, score for him. And one thing, too, is keep in mind that, everybody has a different way of looking at somebody. So you can look good to one person and look like hell to somebody else. That's why we don't need to worry about what other people think about how we look. And so then the one after that, he was super, super young. He was supposed to be leaving. I was a mess at this time in my life. He was supposed to be leaving, and he just kept being super charming and really pushing himself on me. Well, I didn't know his trophy was because his mom was, a cook at the hospital, and she went to work at the hospital as a cook and had that job her whole life. And all she did was bitch about those Sacred Heart nurses. Those Sacred Heart nurses, they're horrible. Those Sacred Heart nurses think they're so good, blah, blah, blah. So when he met me out dancing and found out I was a Sacred Heart nurse, then he was like, right away. And when I met him, I was already spiraling. I was already, because I think I got diagnosed at like 1.5 years or 2 years, because you had to file within 2 years. You had to have so much, oh my God, people who think that these lawsuits are frivolous are crazy. The stuff that you have to provide and show and stuff, yeah, to get your case to be seen. It's crazy. So I was already like 9 months in, so I was a mess. I had no business getting into a relationship. And right off the bat, he showed complete violence, total disregard for my physical things, and no control over alcohol whatsoever, and just a mess with his moods, just, a total wreck. He had no business being in a relationship either. And so, I went through a lot with that relationship, and I kept carrying it, and he was just an empty, uh, crevice, an empty hole of needs. Like he constantly needed. I've never seen anybody buy so many cars. Constantly, oh, that car's not good enough. I'm gonna get a different car. I'm gonna get this car. I'm gonna get. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen like, was that car gonna make you feel good for what, 5 minutes? It was this constant thing that he could never fill up. And when I kept wanting to leave, but I had all this financial ties, so I always had that excuse. And then so when he left me, then I was totally just like blindsided, like, what the fuck? I didn't even leave him, he left me. And that is what really sent me, that was the pivotal time in my growth. And it was very, at first, when you're blasted like that, I'm already struggling with this stuff where now I'm, disabled, handicapped, I've got, deficits. And now, I'm just, oh man, it was a really, really hard time in my life. And it really was hard to get through. I had gone on antidepressants without my second husband, and this was the other time that I did. It was very, very difficult, and it was super pivotal in my growth, but it really, really, I learned so much about myself in those relationships, and the common denominator was always of me not being there for me not prioritizing myself, me not taking care of myself, me putting myself second to someone else all the time. Like that becomes kind of dirtied with their philosophies sometimes that they want to impregnate our brains with. So if you can get in the idea of you have to prioritize yourself, you have to prioritize your own needs, self-respect for yourself. You don't need someone else in your life. If you are not in alignment with them, you don't have to you shouldn't have to force things. Relationships shouldn't be forced. If they're being forced, you're there to learn something. You're not there to teach them something. So don't worry about trying to teach them. It's a dead-end street. They will learn their own lessons. They've got their own team that's teaching them what they need to learn. But you yourself, you are being shown lessons, and you could be like me. You can just keep going from relationship to relationship thinking that something's different, and it's not. And as long as you're the same, it's all the same. So when you can, start taking responsibility for what you've created in your life. Take the responsibility for what is happening to you, because you are creating what is happening to you. So when you start taking responsibility for that and start prioritizing yourself, it makes huge shifts in your life. So that was one of the things that I really wanted to talk about, because I think that especially, so many people, who get into relationships, they're just kind of, lost. And there's so many people who just go from one dead-end relationship to another and keep thinking, what is wrong? Is it just love suck? Do relationships suck? I don't get it. And it's like, no, you needed to learn something, and you just haven't learned it. And once you learn it and you step back and it's like, go over it, like really, understand it, then you're ready for a different You've mastered that. You learned those lessons. You took the test. You understand it. You get it. You won't ever settle for what you had before. Then you're ready for something different. So that's how you make changes. You don't go around changing other people. That won't change anything. Okay, talk to you then.